Good day and welcome to the Frontline Chatter podcast brought to you by the World of EUC. I am your host, Jarian Gibson, and I am back today with my co-host, Patrick Coble. How are you doing today, Patrick?
Doing good. How is everybody out in the world? Hopefully everybody is having a fun day wherever you are.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. It's the storms are kind of rolled through here. I don't know if they're coming your way.
They are. Sharing is caring is
Yep.
what you've always told me. So you're sharing your tornadoes and hail and crazy rain and wind. So thank you.
Nothing too major here, though. Just there were some tornado warnings up north. We got some heavy rain early this morning and a little bit of hail, but nothing too bad. There's some branches down, but nothing out of the normal. So
Right. Fingers crossed.
yeah, hopefully your way doesn't get anything big either. So hopefully it's just rain. But we are here with one of our founding partners, and they jumped on very early. So thank you to Liquidware. And we are joined by James O'Regan from Liquidware. So how you doing today, James?
I'm good. I'm glad the weather is a bit different for me than you. It's a lovely sunny day here in Dublin. You can't see it because obviously of the blind, because sunshine and podcasts don't really go together. So yeah, it's a lovely sunny day here in Dublin. I'm very glad to not have any of the kind of stormy conditions you guys are dealing with. But yeah, I'm really well.
Yeah, I'll have to get back over there. I remember years ago I came over there with my wife to E2E over there.
I remember it,
you guys. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we had a great time. Yeah,
great time. We went nice dinner out. Didn't get used to the sunlight being that late though, but I always want to come back, and she's already mentioned that trip too, so she wants to come back there as well for a trip.
And make it happen now.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, well, we had the clocks go forward at the weekend, so the sun, daylight is even longer now, so it doesn't get dark till like 6, maybe 7 p.m. So it's really nice. So. And it's not raining, so it's great. So, just in case anyone didn't figure it out, I'm based in Dublin in Ireland, so most people's preconceptions are it rains here all the time. It's not raining today. So,
yeah, so
I don't think it rained at all when we were over there. I think it was nice and sunny. It was, I think it was really nice weather because we had that big event on top of that hill way up high outside that one night. Yeah. So it was really nice weather when we were there.
Oh yeah, no, it can be like anywhere. It's changeable, but I suppose the thing you can have here, which we can have quite frequently, is like it'll be sunny one minute, rain the next, and we're in we're in April now, so April can be a bit changeable. We could have hailstones or snow tomorrow, just never know. So
not too different from here too this time of year, because we had the weirdest winter. Like we were 70s one day, and then we were like negative 30 the next day here with the way the weather kept changing here. So. Some similar weather, temperature-wise, and how the weather changes. So,
yeah, it's just unpredictable. That's it.
But let's go ahead and get right into it. For those who don't know you, James, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do about Liquidware.
Sure. Okay. My name's James O'Regan. I have been in EUC for I think it's nearly 19 years at this stage. I've done everything from, like everyone else, help desk, consultancy, architect, SE, and now product marketing. So I am responsible for the product marketing for 2 of our solutions at Liquidware, and they are Stratosphere UX and Command Control. And just because, I like to keep myself busy, I'm also our community lead, and we can talk a bit about that later as well. So that's a kind of brief, as I said, I've met both of you in person. I think, Patrick, you're going to be over in Europe in May.
Yeah, I'll be over there in Amsterdam in a little bit.
I will be there as well, so I look forward to catching up there. I'm really delighted to do that. As you said, we were one of the founding partners of World of EUC. We're very community focused at Liquidware, so I'm really happy to have this opportunity to chat to you guys today.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the OG of founding partners and support of EUC.
Yeah, we're very proud of that.
Anyone that was there could only be one first,
Yes, indeed. Yeah, to quote Highlander there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, so if anyone doesn't know Liquidware, because, I should have got the hat before we did this, but I had the old Liquidware Labs hat, and it was a misspelling for like a Synergy in 2018 or 19. somewhere in that range, and it was pretty hilarious. So, what does the Liquidware do in this EUC space? What's a quick overview? Because I know you've got a couple products and a couple different pillars, but let's just hit some of those.
I suppose, and that's one of the challenges we face in product marketing for Liquidware, is because we have 4 different solutions. But to give a brief overview, Liquidware was founded in 2009 by David Benneman. David Benneman is our founder and is still on board as our CEO. He had a previous company which he brought on people, and the first solution released to market was Stratosphere UX. So as I said, we have 4 solutions. They are Stratosphere UX, which is our detailed analysis tool. It's like if you want to have the deepest metrics known to man about everything, whether that's logons, logoffs, anything, display protocols, all of that kind of stuff. I think we've pretty much would say we're unmatched when it comes to the level of metrics you can produce from Stratosphere. Then you have kind of Profile Unity, which is our UEM solution. So it's all about managing profiles, desktops. And then there is our application layering solution, and that is FlexApp. And we've seen a real increase in demand around FlexApp recently, I suppose, as while AppV is not going away, there's no innovation happening with AppV. It's static.
It's a server.
The server infrastructure is gone. You've got what you've got now. It's not being developed any further. Microsoft wants you to move over to MSIX and what you've got. So we're seeing a lot of companies coming on board with FlexApp, and we've integrations with the likes of Microsoft and ABD App Attach, with Citrix into Studio. We've hooks into Studio, and then we also have our most recent solution, which is Command Control. So Command Control is a SaaS-based solution. So it's the first SaaS solution for Liquidware. It was launched at VM Explore in 2023. And it's a real-time remediation solution. So our customers were coming to us and saying, Stratosphere is amazing, gives us all of this information, but I'd like to be able to do something. So Command Control, very much about, reach out and touch, fix an issue. The beauty of it is you don't have to initiate a remote session. You can do it all via the console. So that's an overview of what we had. So as I said, it's really difficult from my perspective, because we have got this banner of digital workspace management, because we think that's kind of all encompassing for what we do as a company. But you can imagine myself and the rest of the product marketing team were like, sometimes it would be so much easier in some cases to have one product, because if you think about it, we then have 4 different competitors for each product. We have a suite of competitors for each solution. So from a competitive analysis, I'm like having to do it across the boards. So but that's a kind of brief overview of what Liquidware do for anyone who's unaware.
And honestly, too, if people don't know about Liquidware, they might have been hiding under a rock, because you guys are kind of everywhere. You guys have been long-time supporters of the community, whether it's us at World of EUC, whether it was CUGC, seeing you at events. Like we just saw you at iGel Now and Next. You guys are pretty much everywhere at all the events too as well. So hopefully people, if they don't know or they didn't know everything you guys did, they do know now, but they at least should know about you guys out there, because you guys are everywhere in the community.
We do try to get to as many events. Obviously, like every company, we have budget limitations, so we can't get to absolutely everything. But we get to the major ones that we feel are good for our focus. And as you said, we're at iGel Now and Next. We were at Gartner before that, and we're going to be at NerdioCon next as well. So we're definitely out there, and then. As we have a global presence as well, so we try and get to lots of stuff in Europe as well. So
you'll be seeing Patrick at NerdioCon also, because he'll be there. I think you and Steven will be there.
Yep. Me and Steven will be at NerdioCon. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Jason and David will be at NerdioCon. I don't get that pleasure. I've already been to Palm Springs this year. We had our sales kickoff in Palm Springs this year.
Okay.
That was nice, because it was in early February, so I presume it's getting hotter and hotter. So I'm quite happy to not have to go to Palm Springs. It was warm enough for me. It was like 30 degrees Celsius there in February, and I'm like, and then the guy was telling me what it was like in the summer, and I'm like, nope, I want no part of that whatsoever. Even with air conditioning, I still don't. 40 or 50 degrees Celsius, no, absolutely not.
Yep.
Not built for it. Look, I'm way too pale for that kind of weather. So.
Agreed. I second that motion.
So you recently had like a launch and a blog about how you launched your secure intelligence context-aware application delivery. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I suppose what you're referring to there is FlexApp 1. FlexApp 1 is kind of an containerized solution we have of FlexApp. So you could take your FlexApp apps, you can containerize them, and essentially you can deliver them to things like, physical endpoints. And one of the beauties of it is you're able to utilize those applications even in offline mode. So if you're sitting on a plane, you can still access your applications. From a security perspective, I suppose what we have is we've got integration with OAuth and Microsoft Entra ID. So you've got your you have to identify yourself before you can activate the package. So it's all that kind of zero trust model. The app is only launched when it's verified, and you can reduce the risk and maintaining compliance. So that's kind of how we do that whole zero trust thing around applications.
Right. And I guess that's also an important part is when we talk about zero trust and just security in general, is that your application delivery, it being smart enough to figure out what's going on, instead of just saying if you're in the blah app group, then you get blah app, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, one of the big things with how we deliver applications, it's all about context awareness. So determining when, in what context you get that application. If I'm on a corporate environment, yes, we can deliver that application. If you're on, the Wi-Fi in the coffee shop, no, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely more granular than just, as you say, Patrick, an Active Directory group.
Totally, which I think is the most common, right? Most common.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely. Most people, that is how I've done it myself in the past as well. Provision, package or sequence these applications, give it to that application group, and then but I suppose solutions have progressed. If you think back to and Profile Unity definitely has, because it has all that context awareness, and so you can be more granular in how it's kind of determined how you deliver that solution.
Yep. Yeah. And and it's going to keep changing, which is good. And you guys are continually innovating. And one of the things that's front and center on your website right now that y'all really kind of leaned into, I guess it feels like it's been like 3-ish years since the word DEX came out, of that digital workspace management and experience management. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I think it's on the front of your website for a reason. Right.
So. Yeah. No, it absolutely is. So just in case anyone, is not aware, DEX is digital employee experience. So we, as an industry, as in end user computing, have been monitoring and gathering data and all these kind of metrics. I suppose DEX is the next kind of evolution of that. Whereas, as I like to say, we work in end user computing. And, there's the user word in there. So, they're actually getting some insight and input. Whereas we all know in the past, you provisioned a desktop, it was locked down with group policies, and your background, you couldn't manage anything. And that's what we gave you. And IT departments were all about saying no. And in many different ways, it was still, the main point was they said no. Yep. And users just don't accept that anymore. So we actually have to bear in mind what users say. So there has been a big influx of solutions in the DEX space. So while Liquidware does have DEX solutions, they are Stratosphere UX and Command Control. We feel that if you think about it, your profile and your workspace are some of the biggest things that an employee interacts with. So that's why we say, and bring your applications as well. So that's why we say we go beyond DEX, because yes, we do your traditional deck stuff, but we do all of the profile management and desktop management, and we can deliver the applications as well. And there is no end user experience if you don't have applications. So
right.
that's kind of why we have decided on the term to go beyond desk.
And I think that's important too, because I think Dex and what it kind of represents is like you've made it inside your VDI house or your physical workstation, and your workspace, your apps, your profile is basically the kitchen, the bathroom, the couch, and the TV, the things that actually you do in the house versus just being there, So I think it's important that we're monitoring and doing all those types of things.
Yeah, exactly. And, it has evolved. Like, we first started doing kind of providing user scores when Stratosphere came out. So, Stratosphere has been in existence since 2009, and we've had to adapt to what we do. And, the current version of Stratosphere UX contains user sentiment surveys. So, again, it's about getting that feedback from the end user and then having that information. And we've seen, a lot of our customers and partners have really welcomed this feature. One of our partners was like, "Oh, this is brilliant!" If they're doing like a massive migration project, they can immediately get input from that kind of test user group because you can tailor the questions the way they want them, get that instant feedback, not have to send a bunch of emails or a spreadsheet or something. It's just you have different options. You can do a drop down, you can do a text box, and get that feedback straight away, and then be able to determine what needs to change. So yeah, Stratosphere, lots of innovation going on in it, and the user sentiment surveys were just one of them. Another one that came recently was log off breakdown. We've always done login breakdown, but we had demand from our customers that they wanted to have the same kind of granularity around log offs. So we started providing that. So all the kind of features, and it's across Liquidware, are influenced by what our customers are looking for. So that very much forms what ends up on our roadmap.
And that's good too that you say going beyond Dex, because instead of just providing the data or the score or that kind of stuff, you actually have tools in your suite to actually be able to improve that and do something about it. And as you guys find things are going through that with customers or just as your internal development, you can change that on the fly because you can control that all within your suite of applications. That's really good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned command control earlier being one of your pillars. As part of your going beyond Dex as well. You mentioned, doing some remote style support stuff besides going to the console, or are there any other use cases, or are there any other ways customers are using it, or anything you can tell us more about command and control?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as I said, it's a real-time remediation solution. So as I said, it was our first SaaS solution. So the thing around command control is, given it's SaaS, there's no infrastructure. You don't need anything. You deploy an agent, you give it an API key, it starts talking to the console straight away. It literally takes a minute to set it up. I've done it on multiple laptops here. And then once you target that machine in the console, it refreshes the metrics every 3 seconds. So it gives you your basic stuff like CPU, RAM, memory, but it also gives you, what's the percentage like on your battery, what's your Wi-Fi adapter. So all of those. And the really cool, one of the cool things is it then has a suite of diagnostic tools built into it. So you can do trace routes, speed tests, all that kind of stuff. And then if you really want to get into it, we have, you can launch a PowerShell session. So anything you want to do in PowerShell, just from the console, you don't have to initiate a remote session. You're connected through and you have full power. So this is, and then obviously Patrick's going, that's great, but that's probably really scary as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew you were going there, Patrick. So, one of the things we've done, which is very important in command control, is we put full RBAC controls in place. So you can decide what if your help desk level 1 person doesn't need the PowerShell access, then you can cut that off and you can decide what access you give. I suppose one of the real things about command control and the use cases we've seen is, again, it's about that kind of cutting down those help desk tickets, that that they're not just sitting there, and you're able to kind of get in and resolve them fairly quickly, because you don't have to say, okay, I have to talk to this user at 3 p.m. today. You can just go ahead in the background. If you need to start and stop services, obviously, you can notify the user you're going to be doing this, but you don't have to interrupt them. So the end user's not, oh God, I was on the phone with support for like 3 hours. Now, obviously, if we do need to do a remote session, we have that capability, but that's kind of the final troubleshooting step. We like to be able to do everything via the console. And what we've seen is also, if you're in a migration scenario, you can reach out, you can check how things are going. And if you've got, like, say, a VIP list, you could very easily just have those and be able to react quickly to their issues without them having to log a ticket or anything like that. So those are kind of some of the use cases we've seen for command control. It's very much also what we've seen and what we've done is we've integrated it with Stratosphere. So if you're in our individual views in Stratosphere and you're looking at the metrics, you're like, ooh, I'd like to see, how this is looking in real time, and maybe I actually there's something I want to do with that particular machine. There's a button within Stratosphere. It initiates a session straight into command control. And we now have, is a bit of exclusive, coming in the next version of command control, we have you can do it from command control. You can access your Stratosphere hub. So we've got that bi-directional access. And then I suppose one of the other things that we found customers really like is our DBR feature. So what that is Stratosphere gathers data for years, essentially. Command control is limited to 7 days. It's a SaaS platform. You don't want to be having all that data. So we limit it to 7 days. But what you can do with that data on 7 days is, like a DVR, you can pick a point in time. You can see if an incident occurred at a particular point in time, pinpoint it, and then all the metrics on screen will show at that particular point in time. So you'll be able to go, okay, it looks like network spiked at this particular point in time. And then it helps you with that whole troubleshooting process. And end users and our customers have told us that's been really useful to have that feature.
Do customers have the ability to export any of that data or bring it into like any other dashboards like Power BI or anything else from command control?
Not at this moment in time. Like, as I said, this product launched in August 2023. So the integrations are not quite, we're still working on developing the APIs and that for the platform. You do have the ability to get the logs from command control and export them. And you can do the same with Stratosphere. Yeah, you can gather logs from Stratosphere now with the next release, and the same with Profile Unity. You can gather logs for that. So we will kind of extend that log gathering. Oh, and you can do it with Windows Event Viewer as well. You can access that through it as well. So yeah, but the plan will be to kind of, like Stratosphere, build out that API integration for command control. But as I said, we're trying to get the solution out there and building that kind of integration. It was more from a security perspective, it's particularly because it's a SaaS product. There's a lot involved in that, so we didn't want to rush that. So
you got kind of crawl, walk, run with that to make sure all the security checks are in place.
Exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of our traditional Stratosphere customers would not necessarily, given the sectors they operate in, like, there's a lot of Stratosphere running on air gap systems, so they're not going to just suddenly allow command control.
With an ET phone home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's particular use cases, but we are seeing kind of bit of traction with command control in kind of the financial vertical, which is the kind of the one you'd expect, and that kind of thing. So
and I think your like development life cycle in that sense with command and control is probably right in line, because your whole goal is to make sure that you're meeting customer needs and coming up with use cases. And I know the very first use case that brought me, when I first learned about Liquidware, years and years ago, would have been Windows 7 migrations at that time. And now it's Windows 10 and Windows 11. And that's when Stratosphere was doing its thing to help us go like, 2 CPUs, 3 gigs of RAM. You're going to need a 100 gig hard drive. And then you'd get the part of the report that was scary. You need to install 175 applications on this image. You're like, oh no, this isn't going to work. So I know with Windows 11 coming on, I'm sure that's a very similar situation, especially on the hardware side, because I know we always have thought about, I mean, I know for us, we always think about it just in the VDI space, but the physical device space is still a big play for you all and Dex and everything you do, because you need to make that good computing experience, digital workspace experience wherever they are. If they're on their computer before they get to VDI, or they're on their thin client and then they're getting into VDI, and that's where their workspace starts. How is Windows 11, Windows 10 migrations? Because now, we thought we were going to be with Windows 10 forever and ever, but then we came out with 11. So now TPM
and there's rumors of 12.
Yep.
It's definitely a use case where we're seeing a lot of interest in, because as you said, Patrick, there is a lot to Windows 11. Like there's the whole TPM and that kind of thing. I have Windows 11 running on my own laptop here, but I did it through a hack. I hacked the registry, and that's how I got around it. But I'm not an enterprise with 20,000 laptops. Yeah. I'm not going to put a registry hack across them. So I suppose one of the things that we've really seen is, because of the 4 different solutions, we make that migration process a lot more seamless. Because if you're running Profile Unity, you can easily just migrate across from Windows 10 to Windows 11. But if you're looking at, you want to assess your hardware, your applications, then obviously you've got Stratosphere. So you can gather all that data. You can look at which applications are actually being used. And that's a big use case for Stratosphere, is like, oh, we have 200 licenses of, say, Visio. Oh, look, 10 of them are used. It just helps you can do that whole kind of assessment of it. And then as we talked briefly about, command control there, you can, if you're going from one, you can do your comparison between the two with Stratosphere. And then if anyone's having any issues, you can reach out straight away, resolve those issues. And also with Stratosphere, you can utilize when you're doing your migration process, you can utilize the end user surveys and get the feedback straight away. And then obviously depending on what way your applications are packaged, if they're app V, you can, if they're running, you could import them into Profile Unity. That's one of the things we have. You can import app Vs. It's Profile Unity can support multiple different formats. Or if you want, we can convert them. So we kind of simplify that whole process and future-proof you. So it shouldn't matter that the next time you have to move to Windows 12. It should be so much easier. If you've got everything in Profile Unity, then it's an easy change.
And
it depends obviously as well on the customer.
That's the IT answer for all things, right?
Oh, absolutely. But you know yourself that how many times you've come across this thing. Oh yeah, it should be a seamless process. You've got what? Mm-hmm. It's we've all had those moments. I remember I was working for a bank years ago, and they had just been outsourced to HP, and HP brought a team in to do an assessment. And they came into our section. I was working in the ATM section at the time, and there was this machine under a desk, and this person asked me, what does it do? And I said, don't touch it. Don't. And he said, what is it? We've just been told don't touch it. And it turns out it was a system that was running Windows 3.1 and was really important to the ATM network. And so these are the things that you can come up with during migrations are these type of systems that are critical and but essential. I think I'm not going to say they're getting easier, but I think they are getting a little bit easier, because as we have all these different technologies where you can, seamlessly move across to the hardware thing, I think is the biggest issue, especially with Windows 10 to Windows 11. I don't think it's the applications. I think the applications will run, if they ran on Windows 10, they will run on Windows 11. It's the hardware side of things. And I think, when you see that I have well, that's pretty old now, but I have like I think it's a 5 or 6 year old Dell XPS. It can't run legally. It can't run Windows 11. Like, so at a time when we're supposed to be seeing increased sustainability, it feels like Microsoft is kind of, I think they've made some missteps here with it and with the restrictions they've placed on it. But then that opens doors for some of our other partners as well in the thin client world as well. And Microsoft even have their own thin client as we know. Sorry, no, it's not thin client. Not like call it what's it called? The Windows Link.
Yes.
So, oh no, oh shit. Sorry guys, I kicked something and I lost everything.
You're fine. You're still here. So we can keep rolling.
Okay, good.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because in my consulting days, I had those things too, where I was doing assessments and designs and upgrades, and the whole thing with that homegrown app that no one knows how to do anything with. The person's gone from the company. It's running like Metaframe 1.8, and so don't touch it, just leave it until they can build a new app. So yeah, that brings back memories. And then too, you mentioned about the hardware. So I have like the first edition of the Surface laptop sitting here right now, and I can't legally upgrade it either as well, but you're right about the whole sustainability thing. And you made a good point about having those thin client partners, especially the ones that can repurpose these into devices to get that, to help with the longevity and sustainability of it as well. You kind of touched there on Profile Unity, how it can kind of help with the auto migration to Windows 11 from Windows 10 and be able to import the App V apps. I also see that you have Improvada and Microsoft AVD on top of that. Anything else about those integrations, or any other ones that you want the users or listeners to know about?
Yeah. I suppose the big one, like, which we're really, really proud of, was that last year at Ignite, it got announced that we were part of the AVD Apadatch program. So, in case people don't know, is essentially Microsoft reached out to several partners, including Liquidware, and said, "Look, we're looking to get customers onto AVD. We realized that MSIX is getting there, but we need to kind of utilize different partners to kind of get more customers on board. So what we've done is we're now integrated into AVD Apadatch, so that you can take your Flex app applications and get them into your AVD session. So, as we've seen with the industry, AVD is growing exponentially day by day. If we just look at one of our partners, Nerdio, look at their $1 billion what was the thing,
evaluation?
Their valuation. That's the term I was looking for. So we're very proud of that one. We've also got integration with Citrix Web Studio. So again, hooks in, pull in those applications straight into Citrix. So two of the biggest VDI vendors out there. So who would have thought Microsoft as a VDI vendor a couple of years ago? It just shows how things have changed so dramatically. Is that, I know you could talk about Gartner Magic Quadrants and that they're at the top, but like in my world, it was Citrix. And that was so, RDS was the platform we all ran on, whatever flavor of Microsoft OS underneath, but for them to actually launch, so I think that's been a real game changer, and as I said, that's one we're really proud of to be involved with that Apadatch program, and
I think that's your big thing, because I mean Flex app and its integration into Intune and Citrix and AVD and all that is super important.
No, Flex app is
a most common thing, because SCCM used to be, and obviously SMS and and then Altiris and all the other things used to be the things. But Intune has pretty much also been taking over that device management role, which now means it's also in charge of that app management role, which then Flex app can integrate with and make your life even easier with both of them,
Yeah. Flex app is definitely the product we're seeing the biggest sales in. It's really flying. We've seen a lot of demand for it, and I think again with these integrations that that shows why it is kind of leading in its category is because of those integrations and the demand for it, and because of where we are with other app formats that they're getting there, but customers are kind of looking, well, I need something long term now. I can't wait. And we're not seeing software vendors packaging MSIX. So they're not getting on board in the way. But as I said, we're very much supporters of what Microsoft are doing. Hence, we're part of that app attach program. So
yeah, it's always interesting to see when Tim Mangan out there releases more data on app attach and success and adoption of it as well, and so forth. And I know he showed a session last year with Jason, and then also with going blank now. I'm going to Nissa guys about app volumes.
Oh, Jeff,
yes, thank you, Jeff Yoltowski. They had a nice session at EUC World Independence about that too. So it's good to see all this collaboration in the app management space as well. From Tim doing his kind of like independent style stuff, and then just partners coming together to educate users out there at events also.
Yeah. Like I'm very much in favor of collaborating with other vendors, and we do a lot of it. And this world's too small. I'm not getting into beefs with people or any of that nonsense. It's too small. We all know each other. I think even if there's, like, if you think of a category like decks, the more players, if there isn't anything that kind of evolves the industry, is good for us all, and that's what and it causes all the more competition. It causes more. We innovate more. That drives our innovation across the board. So I welcome it, and it's good to see that things are evolving, and hopefully, we are getting. Now there is, unfortunately, there is still a lot of complexity in the things we do. It mightn't look from from an end user perspective, it might, but those puppeteers in the background, there's a hell of a lot going on, and I suppose I think you said it before when you were on my podcast, Jarian. You said you'd hate to be starting out as a consultant now, because like it used to be, we had Citrix, we had VMware. Now we have all these vendors, and it's just, there's so much to learn, and there's so much diversity, and we're seeing, obviously we're seeing things like all these kind of browser-based solutions as well, which are coming into the fore. And because of what's happened with Citrix and VMware, there is that kind of space. So I think we're in a evolution of what's going on in EUC, and the biggest winners so far have been Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft holds all the keys because they control one of the biggest Office suites out there that everyone uses. They control the OS that the majority uses. Yes, there's Linux apps and there's Linux desktops for some use cases, but Microsoft's the king right now of all that space. So they kind of hold all the keys.
Exactly, and they've got their two offerings in. They've got AVD, and then they've Windows 365, which is is changing and evolving. And if you think about the Windows Link device, I talked to Christian Brinkhoff, and obviously when it came out, everyone was saying, why is AVD not supported on it? And I asked him when I was talking to him, and he said, well, some of the features within Windows 365, such as their switch functionality, that just doesn't work in AVD. So that's the reason it is locked down to Windows 365. But at the same, so that's one innovation. We've now had Microsoft launch one, Amazon, AWS launches things. It's like a couple of years ago, even we were changing to going back to desktops, and all these things seem to be cyclical, and so but I suppose there's lots of innovation going, and that's the great thing, I think.
Yeah, the simple thing is just wait a couple years, it'll change.
Absolutely, and
it's just 2 or 3 now, not 5 or 10.
Well, or AI, it's a week.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so So that's the big thing, I suppose, is what is AI's impact going to be on our industry? You can already see it. So you know, give it another year or so, and wow, it'll be exciting. But I suppose that's why we're all in EUC, because there is so much evolution and change. Like if you want if you want things to stay static, don't get into EUC. Yeah. It's never happening. It's always changing. You know, even from the first time I started out to now, and obviously things like AI accelerate that rate of change so much more. So I think, you know, we are going to see some very big changes within our space very soon.
I like what you said too about you know, other solutions out there, and you know, there's room for everyone out there, whether you know, technology wise, and um, competition drives innovation. You know, and then whether it's even technology or community, it's like we're all friends here. It's like there's no reason to have any kind of issues. It goes back to that old saying that rising tide floats all boats, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, so I like how you said that. And then too, I know as far as monitoring, we talk about Stratosphere UX. I know in the past, that's my first experience in Liquidware is using it for assessments. I know some of my coworkers now use it for assessments and customers as well. I see you have like a ServiceNow and Power BI integration. Any other integrations out there you're doing with Stratosphere, or any new features coming up that you can kind of give us another exclusive on?
Well, I suppose the thing with Stratosphere, and I'm going to talk about two particular things which people mightn't be aware of. So Stratosphere has a built-in API builder. So you can build your API and then attach it to whatever you want. So it's not just limited, but we because of kind of where ServiceNow is across the industry, we decided to take it a bit further, and we built a whole integration kit around ServiceNow. Power BI gives you the power to kind of get the data and get it into the format you want for graphs and that, and we're seeing lots of customers do that. So those were two key ones. In terms of further integrations, nothing I can talk about at the moment. There is some. So the latest next version of Stratosphere is due out later this year. There is some new stuff. As I said, we've always done really extensive metrics, and we're going to take that again and go further with that to kind of capture where we are with the industry. And that's all I can say about that at the moment. But yeah, I suppose the other thing to mention, the API builder is, you know, it's built into Stratosphere. There's no fee or add-on cost to it. It's all built in, and you can build your API, and it's really, you don't even need to be a coder to do it. It's drag and drop what you want, and then you can give that to your database guy or your application guy, and they can run that API and pull in the data into whatever solution. So it's a kind of across the board. The other one, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in you know, there is a sustainability, but also that it can be around cost saving, is built into Stratosphere is a thing called Optimizer. So Optimizer essentially looks at all your individual machines and the processes, and it doesn't throttle them, but it does set priority on them. And what we found with Optimizer is essentially what you can do is extend the life of your hardware. So, and we've seen anything from 16 to 18 months. So, and then, you know, you can assess what you're going to do next. But I suppose I just want to highlight that because I'm not sure everyone's aware of Optimizer, and it's a really cool feature within Stratosphere.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. What is some of the, you know, we always talk about it like it depends, but sometimes there's like the aha moments in IT when someone tries a new thing or uses it for a specific use case and is like, this is the coolest thing since sliced bread. What's some of the things that you've seen? Because you've been so at the front of community and seeing this and probably hearing all kinds of cool stories. What's some of the cool things that Liquidware between some of those different products have solved for people that was like, wow?
I did have one recently. One of our SEs told me this story, and it's really cool. So he had a customer. They were using another solution, and it was a cloud-based solution for monitoring, and they had an incident, and the data didn't transfer to the cloud. So at that particular point in time, they did not have that data. So I think they were using Profile Unity at the time. So they reached out to us. They said, "We know you have this. Can you help us out?" So we installed Stratosphere, got it up and running, and were able to determine this was a Friday afternoon. Within about 3 hours, we determined what was the actual issue. We issued and we told the customer what was the resolution. And then they said, okay, we just need to verify this with Microsoft. It went back to Microsoft. And then I suppose that was a big one for me because it just shows how much data that Stratosphere, and when you actually analyze that data, you can really pinpoint what things are happening. So and I've gone, oh yeah, we have loads of metrics, but it's when you really get into Stratosphere and see how much data it captures, it's insane. And I suppose that was a big one. Obviously, from my point of view, Command Control, we brought it to market in August 2023. Well, it was just after, I joined in December 2022. It was my first product launch. So it was a really cool solution to launch. And, we spoke earlier about AI. And I suppose one of the things we look for at Liquidware is we're not going to just integrate AI for the sake of it. So one of the use cases we decided was we have a task manager view within Command Control. So yourself, it lists all the tasks, all the kind of processes that are running. And you're like, sometimes you go, what on earth is that thing? Yeah, that says, I don't know what that is. Is that, malware? What is it? So instead of having to go launch a web browser, potentially going to a site which contains malware, you can just click, there's a little icon and it has integration with ChatGPT, and it gives you all the information about that process instantly on the screen. Gives you the name of the process, who it's by, and a brief description. So we found, and what we do is also, you have to have your own ChatGPT subscription for it. But what we do is we pool all the results for 90 days. So there shouldn't be, and you shouldn't really use any tokens because we should have it all pooled on the platform. So that was one case. And then, any kind of other advancements with AI, we're looking at what is going to provide value to our customers. As I say a lot, I don't really want an AI enabled toaster. So
yeah, some things just need to be simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If we're going to provide value, then we'll implement AI in our solutions, and we are looking at it obviously. But that particular use case, we felt like, how often have you been in Task Manager and gone, I don't know what that process is, and it's going to take me ages, whereas I can just straight away find out what it is. Oh, that's a Microsoft update process. Of course it is, or it's part of Defender, which is more likely to be what it is. And it's why is that hogging all the CPU? Because it's Defender. So
that's very handy. And I know for my coworkers on the services side, speaking of the data that Stratosphere brings in and how much you can get, they use it a lot when a customer is migrating over to Nutanix, or if there is an issue after deployment, or we don't get all the proper data up front, and so they'll go on and use that, like, this has changed from your sizing. Well, here's the data to show that either you need to go back to this original sizing, or when you look at adjusting your environment. So there's a lot of good data in Stratosphere.
Yeah, and migration is definitely one of the most common use cases for that. If you're, as you said, in your case, if it's like you're going from standard hardware to Nutanix and you want to do a side-by-side comparison, you have that capability of doing it, and we really see that. Or if you're going from on-prem to cloud, so or you're just going from on-prem to on-prem, it doesn't make a difference. I suppose that's that you talked about the real aha wow moments. One of the, I suppose, the really great things is we're completely platform agnostic. We don't care. We will run on pretty much everything. If it runs Windows, we're good with that. And then some of the solutions, obviously, if you think about Stratosphere and Command Control, support Mac and Linux as well. So I suppose that I suppose the real thing was kind of the breadth of what we do was the big one for me, because it is kind of pretty hard to encapsulate what we do. And I suppose that digital workspace management works for us because it is a whole suite of solutions we provide.
So we mentioned the community a little bit and how active Liquidware is in the community. And we know, the past couple of years, there've been a lot of changes in the community, which has sparked us to launch World of EUC, Liquidware to launch their community as well. And then we've seen communities, some have changed, some have gone away. New ones are coming up and starting. Kind of tell us about Liquidware community, and then also your thoughts on how community has changed, over the past couple of years.
Sure. Well, I suppose with Liquidware community, it was an idea I had once I knew I was joining Liquidware. I had a look at what they had, and I thought, oh, we can do this better and we can get more interaction. So I set about forming it. We launched in August, actually, of 2023 as well. So I was busy then. Yeah, it was a busy month. Yeah. But I suppose the thing I wanted to do was, I've always been very community focused in what I do. I was a CUGC leader for years in Ireland before, that got, that ended essentially. I've always been community focused, and I have to give a shout out to Doug Brown, because he inspired me to do it, because he had done it at iGel and we had worked together at iGel for 3 years. So when I came on board at Liquidware, I was like, I'd like to do this. And I think I'm not saying we're at the scale of what Doug built at iGel, because they've just passed 13,000 members. We're not we're not going to hit that, but I'm very happy with where we're at, and we are growing progressively. I suppose one thing to put a plug out is, for the month of April, what we're doing is we have a competition for anyone who's a member, and we have a Lego set. It's a replica of The Office, the TV show. So nice. If you sign up in the month of August or month of April, or you're already a member, there will be a draw at the end of April for this Lego set. So I'm looking at different ways to attract members. But I suppose the really great thing I think about our community is you can post something and you'll get a response from David, who is our CEO, Jason, our CTO, our PMs for our solutions, our SMEs. Everyone from Liquidware is on there, and I was deliberate in that I really wanted that kind of. Didn't want it to just be a few key people. I wanted them all to be there, and in fairness, David and Jason are two of the most active members on there, and we had an award ceremony at our SKO this year, and Jack, who's our SME for FlexApp, got an award for the most contributions. So we are seeing our team use it, and we are getting good feedback about it. I see you joined recently, Jarian. So yes. Yeah, Patrick, I don't know if you're on there.
I don't know if I am. I thought I did, but it may have been a bit ago.
Well, you have to go check that out then. Yeah.
I need to refresh.
Yeah, I suppose it's a way of sharing everything we have going on with a particular group, and it's all like anything. It's divided into channels around the solutions. There's just a general chat one as well. So I think it just helps. I suppose what I've seen is people get responses to problems and get them resolved because they're talking to the people who built these things. They're not talking. Our support team are absolutely fantastic, and some of them are on there as well, but you're getting access to our PMs, or people have asked questions about what's on our roadmap, and we've shared what we can. So it's kind of, if you have a question for anyone at Liquidware, you will get a response there probably quicker than you will to an email. So I think it's a testament to the way the company is, that we are that open, that David, who is our CEO, who's a extremely busy person, will be on there and will answer questions. And he goes to community events. He was at I think he was at World of EUC last year. So I think that's kind of where the organization is. It's always been very community focused, and we support what we can. I know we as I said, we've been the founding partner for yourselves, and I suppose that's what's changed with community is, the likes of World of EUC has come on board. The uh, uh, the British user group has converted over to EUC Forum. Irish user group is now EUC Ireland. Dutch is still the Dutch Citrix user group because they've always been independent, so they keep the Citrix. But they are essentially, everyone has broadened their horizons, and I suppose the way I look at it now is I think it's a good thing because we're not limited to just talking about Citrix anymore or those things in the Citrix kind of sphere. I remember at the first EUC Ireland in Dublin, we had a guy from Microsoft and he was talking about Copilot. That's the first time we've had something like, so I gave a session at EUC Forum in London. It was the first AI session. I've done the same at E2E VC. We've, so it's really kind of, I think it's evolving the community to give us a wider kind of focus.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, because as we talk about community, with these times be changing so fast, I think community is probably more important than ever to join these things, get on Slack, use your words, or just listen and learn and just read, because so much is changing, and you're most likely, depending on where you're at in your IT career, as in your nerd life, someone's going to say, hey, you might want to kick the tires of this thing. We just saw this. We just got the quote for this. We need to maybe look at that. Hey, have you ever even heard of this? So staying sharp on all those things with our drastically changing VDI times and EUC times, I think is even more important now than it's ever been, because there's so many solutions, so many things that can help make your life easier. And if you can, get some Liquidware products that can make your profiles better, your migration better, your user experience, your monitoring, all that, and then be able to have time to do the other things that you're supposed to do, because most of us only have 1 to 72 jobs at one job.
And I suppose the other thing around community, and I'm going to give it a plug here, is for Command Control, we have a community edition, so you can sign up and get access to that. Same with our other applications, other solutions. You can sign up on our website and get like 25 licenses. For Command Control, you're limited to 5 machines, but that's because it's a SaaS platform. But that's open ended. It doesn't end after a year. You can have that. So if you want to go kick the tires in Command Control, just go to liquidware.com/command control and you'll be able to access the trial. So,
yep.
But yeah, I think I like where community's going. I like that it has a broader focus. It gives kind of scope, and we've seen it across we've seen it changes up. You were speaking at E2E. E2E has changed. There was I think in the last one in November we had an AI stream. So there was 4 different sessions around AI. So it does allow you to kind of get away from that kind of be more broad in what you're looking at, and I think it's exciting. And I think, I suppose it's great that we now are having more and more in-person events as well, because I don't think there's nothing beats meeting in person. All the kind of virtual stuff, the Slack stuff is great, doing podcasts, webinars, that's all great, but the in-person stuff is really fantastic. And then E2E is going to be my next one, and I can't wait for it. So it's going to be a cool event. And
at the beginning, I think we're going to keep running into each other a couple more times, each of us on the World EUC team and your team, a couple more times this year, between all the in-person events and all that stuff too. So it's going to be fun.
Yep, looking forward to it.
And so you said earlier that you guys just came off of IGL Now and Next. Your team is going to be at NerdioCon next. You're going to be upcoming at EDEVC coming up too as well. Are there any big announcements or anything that you want to share from IGL Now and Next?
Yeah, sure. I suppose the biggest one was so Command Control was very much we focused on Windows and Mac at launch, and we now support IGL thin clients. So IGL OS 12, I have to say, because that's that utilized the app as opposed to the firmware and it was easier to build, an app for that. So that's one of the big things which was announced at the show, and we kind of just reinforced what we've always said with our very long-term partnership with iGel. If you're looking at doing an assessment of hardware and that, and you're looking to make that move either due to Windows 11 or just looking at how long you can kind of keep that hardware going, we do that full assessment, and then you can look at migrating to something like iGel OS. So I suppose we've just reinforced what we've always done, and then command control is we've extended what it supports. I suppose and one of the cool things is obviously it's not just showing those metrics. It's kicking off a Linux prompt as well, so you can have that interaction with it. It's not just all the kind of remediation stuff that we can do on Windows and Mac are now extended to iGel, and other thin client OS is coming very soon as well.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be an exciting year for Liquidware. We've got some really cool stuff coming. That I think will surprise some people. So yeah.
As we close things down, any closing remarks from you, Patrick?
No. I mean, for me, I know it's been amazing since 2009 and 10 to see how much the company has grown, and the avenues that you have picked to go down that make EUC nerds' life easier, and then the users happier, which I think is also very important and sometimes overlooked. And I'm just excited to see what the next thing is, because it just keeps coming. And the relevance of everything you're doing is just increasing, especially with everything else changing. You've been a good, kind of solid foundation in the community and as a product in the EUC space of being that kind of like one-stop shop. If you need your EUC solution to be more better, there's going to be things that you're going to be able to provide to help people out. And that's what I've always liked watching.
Yep.
Any closing remarks from you, James? Oh, go ahead, James.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think there's always something we can help with when it comes to our solutions. We will continue to innovate what we do, and we will continue to support community going forward as well. And I look forward to seeing as many people as possible over the rest of the year in person as well as online. As just to mention, as I said, we do have Liquidware Community. We have that brilliant prize for April, so sign up. You have the same chance as anyone else of winning it, and also make sure you're signed up for World of EUC as well.
Thank you, and we'll make sure that we have links in the blog post, and then as we post the podcast as well, to the website and also to the community piece on the website as well.
Yep.
About signing up. So thank you today, James, for joining us. Really appreciate it. We also really appreciate all the support from Liquidware. You guys have been a great founding partner for us. Jumped on early, came back this year, supported EUC Independence last year. We will be seeing you at EUC World Amplify in August this year. So really appreciate the support and everything. For those who listen to the Frontline Chatter podcast, make sure that you sign up on the site. That way you can get news about webinars, our podcast, events, and so forth. Also, make sure you sign up on the not iGel. I'm thinking about now and next. The Liquidware community as well. And again, we'll include information for that. Subscribe, like the podcast. This will be out there on your apps, and also the video on YouTube along with the blog post. I also want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for their continued support. Our founding partners, Tenzig, Goliath Technologies, iGel, Liquidware, Omnissa, Nerdio, Nutanix, our channel sponsor, Choice Solutions, our new core sponsors this year, Google and Parallels as well. So thank you, everyone, for supporting us. Again, thank you, James, and thank you, Liquidware, for all the support. Thank you for listening to the Frontline Chatter podcast, and we will talk to you next time.
Woohoo! Thanks very much.
Thank y'all.